to improve back office operations. Let me just get that going. There we go. Um, for those of you who I have not spoken with before, my name is Jennifer Doyle. I am a co-founder and the Vice President of Customer Success and Support here at InspectPoint. And we have a lot of information to cover today. I was going through this morning and there's a lot for me to go over. But before we do, I just want to do some general housekeeping. Everyone on right now is muted, but with that said, I do want to hear any questions that come up. So on your little GoToWebinar control panel, there is a little questions area. Feel free to drop any questions that come up throughout the presentation in there, and I will get through as many of them as I can at the end of the presentation. I did just highlight that little raised hand icon. That icon right there, we're going to limit those just to minimize muting and unmuting. So any questions, just drop them in the questions box and we will get to those at the end of the presentation. So what are we going to cover today? Well, as you can see, the first three are going to really focus on how you can quickly turn things around. So I'm going to go over how you can quickly turn around inspection reports, how you can quickly get an invoice out the door, and how you can quickly get a proposal out the door. So really, how can you get those things out the door as fast as possible using InspectPoint? Then going to jump into getting proposals accepted electronically. So sort of building upon quickly getting those proposals out. What are the benefits of sending them electronically, and what's some of the information that you can see as a result of sending them electronically through InspectPoint? I'm also going to go over converting those accepted proposals into work orders. So showing you that general flow from there, and then reviewing analytics to refine processes. So I'm going to jump into our analytics area to show you some of the information that you can pull out of InspectPoint once you really get rocking and rolling inside the system. So I'm going to jump right into it because, like I said, I got a lot of information to share with you today. So report generation. Let's start there, right? I like to refer to this as the unnecessary bottleneck, and I'm sure almost every single person on today's webinar or listening to this webinar can attest that this is a bottleneck in just about every organization that I've ever spoken with. Reduce the time it takes to create and send inspection reports by 70%. That sounds great, doesn't it? Right? Who wouldn't want to reduce the time it takes to get those out the door? Right? Removing the unnecessary headache involved in it. And how do you do that? Right? You're like, great, Jen, great stat, but how do we do that? Well, removing the paperwork and time it takes to process those reports opens the doors for more opportunities. So by removing those stacks of paper sitting on a desk, having to have people decipher notes, download photos from computers and try to get them added to an inspection report so they can get one report out the door. Removing that paperwork removes that whole process, and it frees up people's time in the office to do what they were hired for. You know, I've spoken with lots of organizations that have people who are, designers that are being pulled in to help with the inspection reports process, and it's something that they just can't get out of. So removing paperwork and that processing and reviewing process, removing the paperwork from that equation helps free up time, and it creates more opportunities. So you might be saying, that's great, Jen, but let me see how that actually works, right? Well, I'm going to jump into the product. So give me a sec while I just open up InspectPoint. So over on my screen right now, you will see the dashboard of InspectPoint. On here, I'm going to just show you quickly those report part. So on my dashboard here, I will see in the middle in this need review column, all of my inspections currently waiting review. I am going to go to the Inspections tab and filter by that status of waiting review. Now, waiting review, while applying that filter, only shows me the inspections that I have had sent back from the field and are waiting for the back office to review. Once I locate the inspection that I need to review and generate a report for, I'm going to click onto the ID number, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Generate Full Report. Now, as soon as I generate that report, I'm going to see this little progress little indicator at the top that says the report is being generated. Now, while that's happening, the report, all the deficiencies, all the photos, all the questions, all the answers, anything that was submitted back in relation to this inspection is being generated into a nice, easy to read inspection. I'm going to get an email notification letting me know that the report is ready. And when I navigate over to the inspections tab, the report is generated. So if this is sort of the first time you've seen InspectPoint, in that 1 or 2 minutes that I was just explaining that process, the report is now ready to generate, or sorry, the report is generated. I'm going to click onto this download button here, and I am going to see my generated inspection report. I'm going to scroll through, make sure everything is there, see if I have any deficiencies, and I do. So I'm going to make a mental note to myself right now that I'm probably going to have to create a proposal for this inspection, right? Because I have a deficiency on there and I see my signature. So the report is generated. I have reviewed it. I'm going to hit this back arrow right here and I'm going to go ahead and send it off to my contact. So to do that, I would just click send to contacts here and it would pop up my default email client. So whether you're using Outlook or Gmail, it would pull that up with a pre-filled in email with a link to the report and you can send it off. At the same time, let's just say I've done that. I've sent out the report. I can also click edit details here and get it added into the customer portal. So I'm just going to do annual inspection report. And I'm going to get this added into the portal by clicking that link. And I'll decide, do I want to let the customer know, or when they want to log in, they can see it there. I'm going to go ahead and click update. And throughout this entire process right here, I have generated the inspection report. I have sent it to my customer by clicking that send to contacts, and I have added it to the customer portal. So like I said in that first bullet there of what we're going to cover, quickly generating that report. That report is generated and been sent off to my customer already, report generated, nice and out the door. Now, that's great, right? We've gotten the report out. We've taken a huge chunk off of that whole entire process. Well, now there's proposals and invoices, right? There's a whole other part to this puzzle. It's great that we've gotten the inspection report out as fast as we have, but now, as we saw on that inspection, there's a proposal, or there's a deficiency. So now I can get that deficiency quoted, and I can also invoice for this inspection. So increase proposal acceptance rates and increase proposal acceptance rates and invoices paid faster by getting proposals and invoices out the door faster, right? So when you're top of mind, people pay more attention to it. You've just been on site for an inspection, and InspectPoint customers who send proposals within 24 hours of an inspection see an 80% increase in proposal acceptance rate. Another great stat, right? So like I mentioned just a second ago, you're top of mind, right? Maybe the technician just left the inspection site. Someone has generated an inspection report within an hour to 2 hours, maybe even minutes since that inspection has come back. Your customer has already gotten their inspection report. You see right then and there that you can generate a proposal. So within minutes of getting your inspection report out the door, it's possible for you to also get a proposal out the door. It's also possible for you to get that invoice out the door right away as well. So I'm going to jump back into the product. I'm going to show you that kind of expanding off of the inspection that we just worked with. So I'm back on this inspection detail screen for the one that we just created the inspection report for. We have sent the inspection out the door. We've added it to customer portal. And now, before I send out the proposal for the deficiency work, I would like to send out an invoice. Since I have an inspection price listed right here with this inspection, what I'm going to do is right over here on the inspection detail screen, I do not even have to leave this screen, I will click Create Invoice. This will automatically create an invoice for me, brand new invoice number, and will fill in the information that I have loaded into the system for the company, for the contact, so I could still fill in some more information here for that contact, and the property information. It also automatically adds that it's an inspection. Because the frequency is set to an annual, it's going to indicate that this is an annual inspection. and the price that I have listed for the inspection. From here, I can go ahead and I can save it and I can download it and mail it if I need to, or fax it, or I can click save and send. A pop-up is going to appear on my screen. Over here on the left-hand side is what the text of the email will say, and you just don't want to mess with that link right there because that's what they'll download. They'll click on it, and you'll just click send and close. And right then and there, I have generated an invoice and sent it out the door. So didn't even need to leave the inspection detail screen in order to do that. And I'm just going to hit the back arrow to get back over to that inspection. But as you can see, the invoice is already out the door within a couple of minutes after the inspection report is out the door. Now, something that's a little bit more time consuming to do, your proposals, right? So as we looked at this one inspection, kind of keeping everything in regards to this inspection, we saw a deficiency. I want to create a proposal while it's top of mind for myself, right? I want to make sure that I don't leave this inspection missing something. So invoiced, I'm going to change this status to invoice because I know that I've invoiced on this. And before I move off of here, I want to click and create a proposal. So once, just like I did with the invoice, I can come on here and I can create a new proposal. I'll click create new proposal. And because I created this proposal from the building, it already has the building information and the contact information for whoever is deemed the proposal contact on here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in here a project name. This will appear on the, let me see, can't type and talk at the same time right now, but this will appear onto the proposal. So we're just going to do deficiency repair proposal. I am going to indicate these types. Now, these were set up internally by me in my settings area. This is just a way for me to group together my proposals. So when we get to the analytics area, I can start to see where are my high performing proposals, where are my low performing proposals, etc. I'm going to come down and I'm going to click next. So really with this proposal process, it's going to kind of guide you through creating the proposal. Now on here, what I want to do is actually scroll down to the deficiencies before I start adding any materials. When I'm working with customers setting up their instance, I always recommend that customers link deficiencies when they're creating a proposal, especially for deficiency work. And the reason that I say that is because when you link a deficiency with a proposal, the statuses match. So as the proposal is going through its acceptance process, right? Because we're always going to lean positive, right? It's always going to get accepted. While it's going through its acceptance process, it's being updated and the deficiency status will match the proposal status and vice versa. So you'll always know where they are in the process because they're linked together. So before I even do anything, I always recommend customers come in and they link the proposal and the deficiency. So they'll click onto that icon and they will link it. That's all it takes for that deficiency to be linked with this proposal. And I'm linking them with this proposal because I want these two deficiencies repaired in relation to that inspection or when I'm sending this proposal out for. Now that I've linked the deficiencies so I don't forget about that, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start building out the proposal. Now, because I have service, the service module turned on, I have the ability to add materials. And so this is a material list, not a very extensive material list that I have in there that I'm able to quickly add materials that I will need to this proposal. I'm also going to quickly add proposed corrections. Now, these are items, fixed priced items that I have added in manually, and I'm just going to add these to the proposal. Now, of course, I don't have the best ones in relation to all of the deficiencies down below, but I'm going to add an FDC sign and I'm going to add a quantity of 2. If I need to mark up and mark down, I can for a specific customer, and just so you know, the customer will not see if the product has been marked up or marked down. I can add as many materials or proposed corrections as needed. And I also can just add line items. So if there's something outside of corrections or materials that I need to add to this, I can go ahead and just simply add a line item, or I can add a summary. So I can just say everything that is going to be proposed and a price. And even if you're just listing the summary, I always recommend linking those deficiencies. Next, I'll go on and I'll click next, and I'm in step 3. Now, this area right here, these, when you're setting up your instance of InspectPoint, we work with you to get your settings, your proposal settings enabled. And why you really want to do proposal settings is, as you can see, once you get default settings added, you can come in and things will pre-fill in for you. You can quickly select the scope of work item, summary, exclusions, etc. that you have set up as defaults. So in here, this is based on an annual inspection. I have not included sales tax in there, so I do just want to make that a note to my customer. It excludes sales tax. It also excludes labor. I have not included that in my proposal. Lastly, I want to throw in my default terms and conditions as well, so my customer can refer to those terms and conditions of the proposal. Now, as you see, you can have more than one of these. And I won't go into the specifics of setting those up. That would be something that you would work on during your onboarding with InspectPoint. You'll click next, and you can also add photos. So photos tell the story. So if there's something that you want your customer to know, and you were like, man, this picture tells it all, go ahead and attach that photo to the proposal. Maybe that'll help your customer really truly understand the scope and scale of what you're trying to propose to them. It's not required that you add photos, but it is an option, and you can either add them from the building. If they exist, they'd be listed down below, or you can upload them from your computer. Go ahead and click next. Now, because I am associating this with an inspection report, I want to go ahead and add that inspection report, right? I want my customer, even though I have I've already sent the inspection report over, and I've even invoiced for it, I really want them to understand the report, and maybe my proposal contact is not the person who gets the report. I can attach the inspection report here. All of them will be listed down below, and I just simply clicked that add button. I can also add external attachments. So if there is some other form that your customer needs in order to process the proposal, or you giving them more information, you can always add additional attachments and add that attachment. It is an optional step, so if you do not want to attach anything, you do not have to. Last but not least, we are going to see a preview of the proposal. So we will see the scope of work, we will see the information that we added, and we will see the attachments here. When we are done, we're going to click Save and Send. Now, you'll see a preview of what the email is going to look like. The only thing that you cannot adjust would be this link here. And that link cannot be adjusted because that is how we are able to associate the proposal and update the statuses as different things are happening with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and click Save and Send on this. And I'm just going to continue on with this process, right? So that right there is creating the proposal, right? This could take a couple of minutes. It could take maybe 15 minutes, depending upon how much information you're kind of putting in there. Now, the big thing is let me just pull up my email very quickly here and show you the proposal that I just got. So on my screen right now is the proposal that I received as the contact. I am going to click accept, or sorry, not accept. I'm going to click the link and I now see the proposal. Now, I'm going to do just a little bit of clicking around, so bear with me on this. I'm going to click back into InspectPoint. I'm going to click onto the Proposals tab, and I'm going to click onto the Deficiencies tab. Now, you will see that the status of this is viewed. That is because I clicked the link. I have viewed the proposal that was sent. As a back-end user, you can now click onto that proposal ID number and see how many times it was viewed. There's a timeline view in here. That's why I always say, don't delete that link when you're updating. You can see when it was created and you see the entire process. So I sent it out and it's been viewed twice already. Now, I can come onto the screen as your user. I can see the proposal and I am going to accept. But let's just say, what happens if someone declines? They cannot simply just click decline and say, I'm not dealing with this right now. Nope, I don't like it. We prevent them from doing that. If they want to decline the proposal, they have to give their name and they have to give a note. And that note and name is sent back to the office. If they accept, they also cannot simply just accept. So say someone accepts the proposal, calls the office, you've sent all the guys out there, they're doing work, and someone says, hold up, what just happened? Why are all these people on site? I didn't approve this. You can go back to your instance of Inspect Point and see who approved it, when they approved it, and that they agreed to the terms and conditions, and I'll show you how that happens. So I'm going to accept this proposal. I'm going to add my name. I'm going to add my note, and I'm going to accept the terms and conditions of this proposal. Now, as the customer, I'm going to click accept, and I'm going to get indicated, yes, you've accepted the proposal, and I can click download here to download a copy of the proposal for myself. Now, in the back end, if I go back to the proposals tab here, I see that it has been accepted. Now, the nice thing is when I go to the deficiencies tab, these right here are the deficiencies that I linked with that proposal. I did not at any time come over here and manually update these resolution statuses. This resolution status was changed automatically the moment that I clicked accept on that proposal, and the status is accepted on proposals and it is now, quote, accepted as the resolution status on this deficiency. So that's why I always recommend linking, because instead of me having to go over, locate these deficiencies and manually change the status so that it matches the proposal, it's done it already for me. Now from here, I can continue on with the process. I see that I have that accepted proposal, and just like if I can see the viewed, I can always come to the timeline here and see who it was accepted by, the note that was left, and when it was accepted. Now, that is a lot. That I know this was fast, right? And as you can sort of see on my screen, it's nice to have this all in a single solution, right? Because we have been able to take an inspection, generate a report, generate an invoice because there's a price associated with it, take that inspection, generate a proposal, attach those deficiencies that were part of that inspection, and send that out to our customer while keeping our deficiencies and proposals linked. Ultimately, there's enough for you to worry about. Maximize efficiency by scheduling and dispatching inspections, proposals, and service tickets, which I'm about to show you in just a second, from a single platform. And the reason why it's nice to do this is one single software can help tie all of it together. So the other thing is, and just a little bit Inspect Point here too, is Inspect Point is 100% focused on the fire protection industry, right? So as you're kind of going through this entire process, it is focused on a process flow that you would need to take and that would help you and your organization be able to keep track of everything. And we work very closely with our customers to make sure that these process flows are something that is beneficial specific to the fire protection industry. So I'm going to jump back over into the product and back into that proposal really quick. And I've got my accepted proposal here, right? I've clicked onto the timeline. I'm viewing the timeline. It's been accepted. And from this screen right here, I'm going to convert this to a work order. And I now am starting to create my work order or my service ticket. Just from, and like I've mentioned a couple of times, it's all spanning from the submission of that single inspection. So if we're doing this in real time, we're about 24 minutes in. Let's just say everybody is accepting everything super quick, right? We are able to get everything out the door. In an ideal world, that would be great. But we know it's not going to happen that fast in the real world, but we are able to at least keep everything in a simple solution here. So I've just converted that proposal, which was created from the inspection, into a work order here. I see my service description is already filled in, and that is because I converted it from a proposal And on a proposal, anything added in the scope of work automatically defaults and displays here in the service description. So you do not have to replicate work. If you need to update or change, you can. And you can also expand and have a problem description if needed. So if you wanted to list out two different things, you could. You could list both. You could list none. Work order types, these are set by you during your onboarding process. So I'm just going to keep this as the quoted service. So once again, I can look to see what are my high performing service, how many do I have, how many emergency calls, etc. Since I know someone that's able to go out right away, I'm actually going to create the service visit for this work order right now. I'm going to say that it's got to be done today. I'm going to try for 11:30, and I'm going to set for Brittany, and it needs to be done by tomorrow. Now, if this work order needed more than one technician out there, I could add a second visit. You can have more than one technician working on a work order. Those technicians would, each be doing their own thing on that work order, submit it back, and the information would just be compiled onto the single work order that is sent out to the customer. In this case, I only need to schedule one visit for this service ticket, and I'm going to schedule it out to Brittany, and I'm going to click next. Now, once again, tying into this whole process that I've been mentioning a couple of times now, we created the proposal from an inspection. And because I converted that proposal to a work order, I see that that system is attached to this work order now because that was what was on the inspection that we originally created everything from. I also see that I had some equipment on here. So it's just going to send some information out to the iPad if it's needed and helpful in order to resolve the deficiencies. I'm also going on to the next step. So the fee summary. This information came directly from the proposal. So this is the information that was proposed to the customer for pricing and also for what was needed in order to make the repairs. And it therefore converts and automatically appears on the work order. So you're not duplicating efforts creating this again by adding the same material. Now, with that said, I can add additional material, I can add additional corrections and or remove any of those as well. This is what will be dispatched out to the technician so they know the materials that they need and the corrections that they need to address. On the next step, these deficiencies have already been linked. So once again, we created the proposal from an inspection. These deficiencies were part of that inspection. We linked them, so therefore, because they were linked to the proposal, they are now linked to this work order and service ticket. So we do not have to dig for them again. We're able to just see them already linked because we want to make sure we address them while we're out in the field. We're going to click next, and the following attachments have been added to this work order. And the reason why is because these were associated with the proposal. So if we didn't want some of these to go out, we could simply just delete so that those are not part of, that they're not sent out as items for the technician to see. But we might want our service technician, if they're not the one that performed the inspection, to see the inspection report that the inspection technician did. So you have the ability to send out the inspection report as well, and any other attachments should there need to be like a building layout that they're not familiar with, etc. You can always add an attachment. You'll go ahead and you'll click create now. And at this point in time, you have created a work order, you have scheduled out to your customer, or sorry, not to your customer, to your technician, and your technician can perform the work order, right? They can add the materials they've used, time on site. You can decide if you want to display pricing to your technicians or not display pricing to your technicians. That's something you would talk with the onboarding team about when you're onboarding. Do you want pricing to show or not? And then the technician or technicians would submit back their visit. At that point in time, you could you would close the work order, and then you would create an invoice for it. So the information coming back from the field, you create an invoice just like you would for an inspection. So it's going to show those line items, those corrections, the labor, things that were added in the field, and you can quickly close, send that completed work order to your customer, and then send an invoice right away at the same exact time. So Once again, a lot of information, and I know it kind of goes a little fast. And if you want to see it a little bit more in depth, especially this new module, especially if you've seen a couple of demos of Inspect Point, you haven't gotten a chance to see our service module. If you want to see this a little bit slower, make sure to reach out for like a full demo on that one. But I've mentioned this again a lot too, right? There's a lot going on. You have a lot to keep track of. A lot of information is flowing through Inspect Point, as you can see, and all of it ties together. So there's a lot of information for you to keep track of. But knowing what's happening at a high level and where the money is or isn't helps you make actionable decisions. So now this analytics area that I'm about to show you here, this is configurable. Not everybody has to see this, but if you want to really know what's happening inside of your instance of Inspect Point, we have this analytic reports area on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, we have some very basic ones, right? At a high level, if you just kind of want to know where your inspections are in the process, you can go ahead and see this, right? You see all the various statuses along the top, and you see the technicians along the side. So if you want to know, hey, how many inspections are still out on an iPad for, Jennifer, I can come in here and I can quickly glance, and I can see the total for the month. I can also come in here and sort of see it in a nice little, bar graph here, right? How many are completed, scheduled, and waiting review for each technician, and I have the ability to adjust the time frame here. I can also come in here too, especially if I'm a fire extinguisher user, and these might be different based on what you currently have turned on in your instance or what you will have turned on in your instance. But if you're a fire extinguisher company, you might want to know when are services due. You might want to have that information so you can stock the truck, right? So when you're going out to do those inspections, you have the materials that you need. So this right here will allow you to see um, things that are overdue, and then very soon you'll be able to see projections. So if you need to order materials, etc., you'll have the ability to project out when services are due. And this is all driven from information that is added at the extinguisher level when your instance is being set up. Now, deficiencies. Now, you have the ability to come in here and say, hey, let me see all of my deficiencies for, this last quarter. And you can see information. You set this detail level. So within the last, 2 months or so, still have 9 open deficiencies, 9 that are unresolved. And we can see sort of a breakdown, right? Which ones and where are they in the statuses? Which ones are open? Which ones are resolved? We currently have, a good amount, 66% that are resolved, but we still have 33% that are open, unresolved. And then where are they in this status? So we have quote accepted. So are we waiting on service, service visits to take place? What are we waiting on for those accepted quote, those accepted deficiencies who have approved work from their customer? Why are they still in quote accepted? And then you can also right here just sort of see deficiencies by technician. It seems as if I'm the only one right now with those deficiencies that are currently open in here. Also down in here as well, you can see an inspection dashboard too, right? So do you want to see what type of inspections are performing the best? We're going to go ahead and we can come in here and like I said, we can adjust this and just sort of see what are the inspections completed in this time frame? What are the different inspection statuses? So we've got 60% or so here incomplete, but why aren't they invoiced, etc. You can sort of make these decisions and sort of see where might things be dropping, right? Where are we getting stuck? Where do we actually need help? If you had inspection prices associated with all of those inspections too, you'd be able to see within that time frame how much money was generated just from those inspections, right? So that's why it's also important, even if you're not going to be using us for the invoicing feature, to place price onto your inspections when you're setting up your inspections so you can see the revenue. To sort of see, right, if you're filtering by type, what are really not great performing from a revenue perspective inspections? And is it something that you might want to double down on or take a different approach on? And then also for your proposals. So if you're using proposals, you really want to see once again, might we be getting stuck? Where do we need assistance? How much money is on the table that's been approved? How much is still on the table that like we might lose because we're waiting on different statuses to change? So we can sort of see here proposals by the statuses. We have, about 1% or 5% are viewed, but we have a pretty big amount in draft, meaning why are there 31% in draft? Meaning they're just sitting there, they haven't been sent to the customer. So it's something for you to have a conversation about and sort of see all in one solution. Why are they there? And you can go to the proposals tab, filter on the status, and then have conversations with people about that. And then you can also see, well, who are your high performing people getting those proposals out the door? I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but it looks like I'm doing pretty good here. But you can see, how much have I had accepted in this time frame? How much is currently, on the table for out for quote? How much was declined? And then how much is in draft for each one of your, users doing and submitting proposals out the door. And then you can also just see a user proposal. So, while there's these lovely bar graphs and pie charts and all that, sometimes you just want to see it just on the screen, right? So you can see sort of at the user proposal report, month to date, year to date, per user using the proposals feature. And then also just backflows as well. Any backflows that have been performed, when were they last tested, etc. In this case, during this time frame, we don't have any, which is why it's showing as blank. So this analytics area really gives you the opportunity to see your business at that high level and be able to make those actionable decisions based on the data that's coming out of your instance. And as you can see, it really captures all of it, from inspections to proposals, deficiencies, to your work orders, and to your invoices. So benefits of that software, right? I've kind of mentioned this a couple of times of why you might want to utilize one software solution for it all. Well, there's accessing your information at any time and any place, right? So we are a cloud-based solution, meaning you don't have to install this on a computer. You can access it from any time, anywhere, and any time, pretty much. So if you want to know at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're up in the middle of the night wondering what your revenue is, you can pop onto Inspect Point, check your analytic report, and see what's going on. You can also normalize your reports throughout your company. So we have a lot of companies that have one office locations, and we work with companies that have a lot of office locations, dozens or more locations. And they're able to normalize their reports so that everything is uniform across all of the different areas if that's something that they need. And they can normalize their reports throughout their company just for their customers, also for quoting purposes, and then also for AHJs as well. You can truly track the progress of your jobs, right? Because you're seeing it from the very beginning all the way through the end, you're able to really truly see the progress that is happening or not happening. And you can address those without having to jump around all over the place. You can quickly send your information to your AHJs and your customers, right? So when we generated that report super quick and sent it off to the customers and added it to the portal, that can go right to your customers. And then some of our customers actually add their AHJs as customer portal users. So the AHJs can log in and see the reports at any time as well. Those workflows and this workflow that I showed you can be done remotely or in the office. So with sort of everything that's going on in the world sort of presently, things changed, right? And in the last 6+ months, things have changed, and more people are working remote. Some people are still working in the office, and all of this can be done regardless of your location at any time. And most importantly, you can increase revenue, right? And who doesn't want to increase revenue? Because you're just creating things faster. You're getting it out the door faster and you're removing bottlenecks. Now, this is the process flow that I sort of went through with you guys today. So we started with that inspection. We generated the inspection report. We noticed there were deficiencies. We created that proposal. That proposal was accepted. We converted that proposal into a work order. That work order service ticket was dispatched out to the technician, just like an inspection. They completed the service visit. They sent it back to the office. We completed and sent the completed work order to our customers, and we created an invoice for it. Now, along the way in between inspection and proposal, we also created an invoice, but this is the flow that our customers are taking if they're utilizing all of the modules that we have available: the inspection, proposal, service, and invoicing modules. So I got to do it, right? But how can Inspect Point help? I've mentioned this, we're cloud and mobile first. So we are cloud-based, meaning you can access us anywhere, and we are mobile. That is how the inspections and service tickets are performed, utilizing an iPhone or an iPad. We're configurable in that you can adjust questions if needed and really make it work for your organization. We're scalable in that as you grow, the product can grow with you. And we have an offline mode. That's important because we do run into organizations and customers that they will leave the office and they're not getting cell phone reception for the rest of the day. And they don't have to be connected to the internet to perform their inspections or work orders. What they do is they just simply connect to the internet before they leave for the day, pull to refresh, make sure everything is loaded on their iPad or iPhone. They leave for the day, they perform their work, they come back to the office, and they upload everything back to the cloud. They upload everything back to the back end. And we're secure and reliable in that your data is safe, right? We have a lot of, of security settings in place, and your data is always your data. And we like to say that we do what we do best so that you can do what you do best. We are software people through and through, and we like to build software, but we do what we do so that we can help you. So the features that we're adding as a software company come from a lot of our customers, and we implement those in order to have you being able to do what you need to do on a daily basis. And then also got a little plug for my team, right? I mean, I am on the customer side, right? But we have an onboarding and rollout program that really focuses on trying to help customers get up and running. You don't simply purchase the software and then you're thrown to the wolves. And then, if you have a question, we don't respond. So we have an onboarding and rollout program. You can accelerate the pace, but typically we try to have customers on board within about a 3 to 4 week period. During that time, there's recorded webinars, there's recorded trainings, and we offer consultations during that time as well. So you meet with an onboarding specialist for anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, 3 times, and we first make sure that you understand the basics of the software, and then we answer any questions that might have come up during that time in your training. We also talk about best practices, and we also offer enterprise support to anybody who sort of utilizes that full workflow. So the enterprise support includes the premium phone support and premium email. And customers who have the full workflow of inspections, proposals, service, and invoicing get that included in their price. And then lastly, we know that things come up, right? And you might need help doing things. We have a professional services department. So our team can work with you if you need help setting things up. There are costs associated with it. We do look at the scope of the project and the sort of how long it would take, but we offer those professional services should they be needed. So very quickly before we jump into any of questions, I do see some questions. I want to mention it's Fire Prevention Week, right? So we're partnering actually with Friends of Firefighters. So if you don't know what that organization is, they are a nonprofit organization. They offer free mental health counseling and wellness services to active and retired New York City firefighters and their families. we've partnered with them this week, and for every demo booked, we're going to donate $100 to them. So if you want to see a demo of Inspect Point, if you'd like to see another demo of Inspect Point, or if you know anybody who would like to see a demo of Inspect Point, please send them our way this week. We want to definitely make sure that we can raise as much awareness and money as we can for Friends of Firefighters in that organization. With that said, requesting a demo, right? All you have to do is email sales@inspectpoint.com. Someone on the sales team will get in touch with you and we will get a demo on the calendar. If it can't happen this week, as long as you book it this week, we will still count it and get that money over to Friends of Firefighters for this fire prevention week. If at any point in time you're like, I can't remember that email, you can always email me, Jennifer@inspectpoint.com, and I can get your information over to the sales team and we can get that demo booked for you. But with that, I do want to thank you for being here. And I do see some questions. I know this was a lot of information and it was very, very fast. So I just am going to jump in here. Any questions, make sure to drop them into the questions area. And I see a couple have already popped up. Let me see. Why not link the file to the deficiency as a default? So so the question kind of says, why wouldn't you link the file or like the full inspection possibly is, I think is where that question was going to the deficiency. And just really quickly at the deficiency, and I apologize if I'm not understanding this correctly, but at the deficiency, let me just pop over onto the other screen so that you guys can see what I'm talking about with the deficiencies. So on the deficiencies area, as a deficiency comes in, it's linked with the inspection ID itself here. So while you're linking the deficiency with the proposal, as soon as the deficiency is identified with the inspection, it is linked with that inspection automatically. And then it's sort of tracked with it. We recommend that you link proposals and deficiencies together. Link the proposal. Not everybody uses the proposal feature, so sorry, I just the follow-up came into that. So it's link the deficiency to the proposal as a default. So not everybody utilizes proposals, and not everybody wants to link. It's a highly recommended feature. We really push it during our trainings, but not everybody wants to link the deficiency with the proposal. It definitely cuts down on time. But because it's not a requirement, we do give users the option to not default link. So that's why it doesn't happen by default, but it is a highly, highly recommended feature in there. Gonna be paired. Someone was just wondering if the PowerPoint is going to be shared and if they'll get a copy of this presentation. That you will. After this, it will be sort of downloaded, and you will get a copy of the webinar automatically. And I also will place the webinar up on our YouTube channel too. So if you wanted to shoot the link over to anybody else, you can. And they can take a look at the presentation. Oh, you're very welcome for those. You're very welcome. Someone just said thank you for answering the questions. Anybody else have any other questions? I know, like I said, there was a lot to cover today. It was fast. These are usually multiple trainings that we do. So I tried to condense it down as much as possible. All right, well then what I am going to do then, so you guys don't have to continue to sit on here and listen to me chat, I am going to, I'll call the webinar. If any questions come up after the fact, right? Because I know that that's always what happens with me. I get off something and I'm like, I have 5,000 questions now. If a question pops up, email it to me. Also, if you have any questions or you want to see something further, remember, book that demo with sales. Especially this week, at least try to get something on the calendar so we can get that $100 over to the Friends of Firefighters for the fire prevention week. Also, we we do have our podcast. I'm not sure. I'm going to plug the podcast. I know Drew is going to love this, but Drew Slocum hosts a podcast, the Fire Protection Podcast, and it's powered by Inspect Point. But on this week's podcast, he actually interviews the Friends of Firefighters. So if you do want to learn more about the organization, if you want to learn how maybe you can get involved or just anything, I highly recommend that you check out this week's webinar. And I also recommend that you subscribe to the webinar. Drew puts out a lot of really great content on a regular basis. And so if you're driving around from job to job or into work, it's a really great way to just stay informed. Even though it is sponsored by Inspect Point, it is not Inspect Point focused. Drew does a really great job on focusing on industry information and bringing information that is relevant and helpful to the industry as a whole. So that is my plug for the podcast. Check it out. It's on every major podcast. And I highly recommend, especially this week's. I would like to thank everyone for being here, sticking with this information. If anything comes up, please do not hesitate to reach out. I am here to help. I am here to direct any questions to anybody else that might be able to help a little bit better. And with that, you have your day back. And thank you again for joining. I hope that we get to speak soon.